Welcome, everybody. Uh, Thank you for joining us on day three. Welcome to those who haven't been to these sessions yet, and welcome again to those of us who have been joining us over the last 2 days. If you haven't already, make sure you've got a coffee, a glass of water, a pen and paper for questions. We'd really love to hear your questions. So welcome and get ready. We'll give everyone another 2 minutes to get into the room. For those of you who are new or who didn't attend yesterday, I would just like to communicate that the sessions are being recorded. And from this year onwards, Europark will be limiting the viewing of the recordings to those who are Europark members through our website. However, they have let me know that the recordings of these sessions will be available for a limited time as per usual on the Europark YouTube or on the Europark website. Just for all of you to know, I'll probably get to that about a week and a half after the webinar because we'd like to tidy up the videos a little bit. You will receive an email with a link to the video recordings once they are ready. So I hope that puts you at ease for those of you who want to go and watch recordings of the previous days if you weren't able to attend, or if you'd like to rewatch something or check the slides, they will be coming to your inbox. Okay, I see we just still have a couple of people joining. I'll give them 1 more minute. For those of you who were here yesterday and the day before, you'll notice we'll start off with the Mentimeter. So if you have a second device ready, then you can scan the QR code. I think I forgot to share the link in the chat, so I'll quickly get that link for you.
Yeah, it's not in the chat. Yeah.
There you go. So
Yeah.
welcome everyone. I hope you're excited for day three, the session, which was quite fondly named The Wings of Change. For those of you who are who know the song The Winds of Change, I hope that that's yeah, playing in your heads as it's been playing in my heads every time I came up with this title for session three. And we are going to be talking about butterflies and moths. We have Cristina Sevilla here from Butterfly Conservation Europe, and who's also part of the EPIC project that we heard about yesterday. We're so happy to have her and her expertise, and yeah, I hope you're all really interested to hear what she has to say. And as I mentioned, we're going to be starting off with Mentimeter. So you can either click the link in the chat or you can scan your phone and you can join us for a mini quiz. Well, it won't actually be a quiz this time, it'll just be a survey. We've got 3 questions to ask our audience to get to know you a little bit. You can see we already have 18 people joining us on Mentimeter. Yeah, welcome to get out a phone and scan it on your device or to use the link and open up a new tab using the link in the chat. For the purposes of today, during the presentation, everybody will be muted except for Christina, but during the Q&As, we will also be able to unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like to, or you can also post your questions into the chat and I will moderate them and read them to Christina for you. So the moment something you're curious about something or you'd like to know more, just write in the chat. We really would like to hear your questions. So don't be shy. Okay, we have about 27 of you on Mentimeter. So mostly the main question Christina and I would like to know is how many of you were at one of the session, and how many of you were there for both sessions, how many of you just came for this session? Wow, great to see. We've had some real engagement this week.
Yeah, totally.
That's really awesome. Thank you. And thank you to everyone for taking your time to join us every day. Well, not every day but Monday and Friday. I can see 21 of 29 have responded. I'll give you another 5 seconds to answer.
Well, a good
Eh,
proportion, yeah, indeed.
Yeah, that makes us really happy. So thank you very much. And then we just have some fun questions for you. And we want to ask you to name a species of butterfly you can identify. You're welcome to put the Latin name. You're welcome to put the common name. If you know it in English, I'd love to see it in English because I probably won't know what it is in any other language. Um,
Oh, nice. Many.
I think I'm already learning things, Christina. I hope all of these are coming up in your presentation.
A few of them, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really not that knowledgeable on insects in general, but I can also identify the peacock, butterfly, and the monarch. Not quite sure about the red admiral, but the name sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar, yeah. And maybe orange tip is also really common.
Oh,
And I'm going to show it, so when you see it, you know why
great.
it's the
Perfect.
orange,
I'll
orange tip.
remember those names. Yeah, I think the one I see most common in my garden is the little white one with a black dot on the wings.
Yeah, the small white, yeah. Wow, there are so
Great.
many. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for answering. We still have another 9 people who could send in answers, so I'll let that keep going.
It's moving, it's moving. I continue entering Latin names.
Yeah. I think I saw one. Is it the cabbage butterfly? Is that the little white one?
Yeah, yeah. There are two similar. Well, the whites there are similar, and one is small and one is big. So the large
Mm.
white cabbage white or the small cabbage white.
Okay. I think I'll give everyone 3 more seconds and then we'll move on to the next question.
And I
So
saw the Danish name of one is great.
I think yesterday we saw we have quite a big variety of where everybody's from. So it's cool to see that diversity also here in the butterflies rather than on the map.
Yeah.
Okay, next challenge for all of you is can you do the same thing with moths?
Huh.
I already know that I can't. So definitely no judgment. And I hope you all appreciate the cute picture of the moth on the side. I thought it was really cute, but not everyone in the office thought the same.
Ah, there are a few.
Yeah, I see they're coming in now. That's great.
Yeah, it's good. There are.
I'm recognizing some of the names, so I'm feeling a little bit better about myself.
Yeah, the hack moth are really nice. So,
Are those also the same as a dead head moth? The ones that look. I'm trying to
like the
translate
has.
from German, so I'm not sure if it's called that in English.
There is one that has a skull, no? You
Skull.
mean
Yeah,
yeah, a skull in
yeah.
the. Yeah, I'm also not so good on the common names for mods. Yeah, I'm starting learning about mods now. Yeah. Great, great. Well, we have a nice cloud, so it's
Yeah.
not just
So
empty.
I can see already like 16 out of 31 people have already filled it in. So I think I would say about half the room is pretty interested and knowledgeable on moths. So that's really positive. But I can see it wasn't as quick as with the butterflies. So we're going to be tackling that disparity and hoping yeah, that we all learn a little bit more about moths as well. No pressure, Christina.
No pressure.
Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen and you can take over now.
Okay. S- Oh, wait a second. Change screen one. And now, can you see this? Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly.
So now it's in presentation mode. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here the third day. Still, we have a big audience, so thank you so much. Thank you also to my colleagues the previous days because they explained so many things that I don't need to repeat here, like the IUCN, the Red List, or the EPIC courses. So I will mention, but I won't go really deeply on those. Well, I'm Cristina González Sevilleja. I'm from Spain, but I work for Dutch Butterfly Conservation and mainly for the Butterfly Conservation Europe organization. I will explain more about this organization. But just to start today with this session for engaging junior rangers in pollinator conservation, let's talk today about butterflies and moths. So this is what we are going to see during my presentation. I will try to talk a bit of moth and butterfly biology and a bit of ecology, just a little bit. And also some Lepidoptera monitoring, how we do counting butterflies and moths, the methods and tools, how it is the monitoring in Europe, and at the end, action and resources. So just some tips and links and resources that you can use as a ranger. Let's go further. So just starting with yeah, diversity and differences on butterflies and moths. And in every blog, I will stop and then you could do questions or anything if there are doubts. So let's start with a bit of biology. I think the majority of you knows, and it's pretty common to know about butterflies and their biology. But just in case, I wanted to bring some tips for you. So, for example, like the butterfly wings are made on scales. I put you here a picture. If you magnify the species, the picture of a butterfly species, you could see that getting closer, we see this pattern, these scales, that there are like tails, no, put one to each other. And that is what they produce in the color pattern of a butterflies. These scales can be with color, with pigments, like for example the red or black, but for other colors like blue or violet, these are reflection of the light. So it's how the scale is produced. One fun fact maybe you didn't know is that the butterflies can taste with their feet. They have receptors on their feet, so when they landing on a plant or on a flower, they could taste if that is a really good resource of food, of nectar for laying eggs or just feeding. And they do it that with the proboscis. That is the straw they have to suck in the nectar, and when they don't use it, they put it back and put it on the mouth part. So it's really peculiar part of a butterfly body. They have a complete life cycle of four phases that for sure you know they do a complete metamorphosis. No, they lay eggs, become caterpillar, then a pupae, and then the adult stage. And in general, this complete life cycle is quite short compared to other animals. They are invertebrate insects, so in general, the complete life cycle is around a year. But depending on the species, some phases can stay really, really long, even months, because they hibernate, for example, like a pupae or an egg. So then or even years, if the climate conditions are not good, they could stay as a pupae several years. So not in all the species, just a few of them, but it's pretty interesting. Going to some facts on ecology. Well, butterflies have a really big range of diversity of habitats. They could live worldwide in many places, from rainforests, high mountains, or even in really dry areas. As yesterday Sarah was explaining for the bees, butterflies also can be really generalistic, so they could feed on many different flowers and use as a caterpillar different type of plants. But there are others that they are really specialists and they just lay eggs on one specific plant species, so they really constrain their habitat quite a lot. Butterflies do mimicry. So they show many different colors and really strong ones, like this caterpillar of the swallowtail of the Papillion macaon is saying you that I'm not tasty good, so be careful because maybe I'm toxic, and it is toxic. Or, for example, the monarch butterfly, also these colors are more dangerous color for the predators, no? So they are uh, yeah, giving some messages to the predators, and also they are mimicking in some situation species that they looks like toxic species, but they are not really toxic, so they are mimicking the others. Butterflies do migration and really long distances. For sure, you know the monarch butterflies in America, no, from North America until Mexico. But we have also our butterflies in Europe, like Vanessa Quardui, the painted lady. They do a big migration from Europe to the middle part of Africa, and they are covering really big distances. The the thing is that the migration of butterflies are not like the birds. They don't do it as one individual doing the whole journey, is by generations. So there are steps where the butterflies are stopping, laying eggs, they go out, and then the next generation is the one crossing, for example, to Africa. So it's not the same individual. We are talking about pollinators, and butterflies are considered pollinators because they feed on flowers, and they get attached the pollen on their bodies and then bring into other flowers. But it is true that they are not the best pollinators compared to bees, hoverflies, or moths. But okay, still they are doing contributing to the pollination. And also they are part, of course, of the food chains. No, they are caterpillars, preferably, that they are eaten by birds or many other animals, so they are a big component in the food chains of other organisms. And for all these many reasons and other characteristics, butterflies are considered an important indicators because we know a lot of them, we do monitoring, we know the distribution and how their habitats are, so they can tell us how our habitat is doing, if it has a good health. So just to show you a bit on butterfly diversity in Europe, this is the map produced from the red list of butterflies that just it was published at the end of 2025. And well, you could see how is the diversity of butterflies species in our continent. Just to say that the butterflies are from the order Lepidoptera, but specifically the superfamily Papilionoidea, so only the daily flying butterflies. And we have around 100, 500 butterfly species in total in Europe, although in the world there are many, many more than 18,000 species in the world. The tropics are really pretty diverse. In In Europe, we have 6 families, so it's pretty easy to teach them, and around 110 genus. So it's possible to learn them all. We have a great diversity, well, mainly on the mountains, so you could see pretty well the Alps or Pyrenees or the Balkans, where is a high concentration of species. In the peninsulas as well, in some isolated areas, but the most diverse is the Alps. No, it has a really explosion of some species and genus that they can only occur there. But well, we have diversity in other parts that is also pretty well. Regarding endemic species, this is also an output from the red list, is quite of similar endemic species that there are only occurring there. And especially in Europe, we have 149 butterflies species that only belongs to Europe and nowhere else. And from those, 29 species are threatened or near threatened. So yeah, sometimes they are really restricted to some habitat endemic species, so they can be quite vulnerable. As the previous map, you could see the 3 peninsulas are pretty diverse in endemic species, the Italian, the Iberian, and in the Balkans, and the mountain range are pretty diverse, or other areas like Sierra Nevada or in the Apennines also you could see many endemic species. Regarding the conservation on the red list results, the assessments of the butterflies is pretty good because they do all the butterfly species, the 501 species, and yeah, 1/3 are yeah or less are considered not only least concern. Sorry. 6 of them are critical endangered, 35 endangered, and 24 vulnerable. So we really need to be consider actions to improve the situation. If we go on the endemic species, that is even worse because it's the first time that we are reporting one species that is extinct for Europe. This is the Madeiran large white. It's like our normal large white butterfly, but because it's just endemic of the Madeira island, Pieris wallstoni has disappeared. We have been trying to look for that species and we were not able to find it. So for several years, so since the 70s, it has not been reported. So now is the first time in this red list that is considered extinct for the first time for our continent. Well, you could see that for the endemic species is increasing more the number of threatened species. To put it more visualized, so how the threatened species of butterflies are distributed in our continent, I can say that 1/4 of the species, 125, are now threatened or close, near threatened in Europe. So that is quite a lot. 52% of all these threatened species are the main cause is the climate change, especially for northern and mountain species. You could see it pretty well in this map how the northern part of Europe, no, the Arctic zones have a high number of threatened species, and the ranges in the Carpathians, for example, or in the Alps. And for the butterflies species that we know the trends, so it has been calculating the trends of their population, 50% of those are declining. So it's not a good signal. And also pay attention to places that there are small, like for example, Sierra Nevada in the south of Spain, or in the south parts of the Balkan, in those mountain regions where there are isolated areas for endemic species that, yeah, could be threatened and vulnerable. So this is all about Butterflies, I'm going to enter with the moth. I have to say that I'm not a specialist of moth. I'm getting more and more knowledge on them, but I will do my best. So, as the same I did for butterflies, some fun facts of moths. As normally we think that the moths are dull, they have really dull colors and they fly only during the night. That is not true because there are a big number of species that they fly during the day. You can see this picture that is taken with sunshine. And also the dual colors. I put you here this incredible pink moth that cannot be dual. Also, the moths they do mimicry to avoid predation, so they also show bright colors and to avoid the predation, and even some are mimic like bird droppings. So if you see it from the above, it's like, okay, that is a drop, so I don't need to eat that. But actually, is a moth. I put you here an example, the elephant hawk moth. Here, the caterpillar, that if it feels threatened, they construct themselves and they make the shape of a snake. No, they have these marks that there are similar like eyes, and then if you look it from far, then you could think it's a snake, so you wouldn't eat it. It's a good strategy. There are some moths that they don't eat as an adult. So, for example, the Luna moth doesn't have a mouth. They don't have the pieces in the mouth. The only mission is to mate and lay eggs. So they don't go to feed on the flowers or something. So basically, they are not pollinators. These are some moth species that there are not pollinators. Also, there are some moth species that they don't have wings as adult, only the female. And that is a curiosity because they evolved that, okay, why I need the wings if I just can attract my male and he will come to me, so I don't need the wings. So the female of the bagworm moth is doing this strategy. It's always live in the silken case and then just waiting for the male to appear. And also a really nice fact of moths, well, you could see in this picture, the antenna are really important for them because it's the way and the reproduction is happening, no? So the male has these incredible antennas to smell the pheromones, to catch up the pheromones of the female. So they can even smell it for further kilometers of miles away where is the female. So they have this incredible structure for that. Regarding the ecology, well, moths are so many different species and diversity, so they can specialize in many different behavior and psychology. But for that, also, they can be indicators for us on what is happening with the light pollution, for example. They are quite sensitive to that, or also to the habitat conservation. So they could say us a lot about the ecosystem. They are important pollinators. Now the science is putting more emphasis on the moth as a pollinators because there has been demonstrated that, for example, the productions of strawberries is better with moths because they do the pollination during the night of the flower. So it's really important. But because it's during the night, we don't see it. We don't care, but it's important indeed. They have a huge ecological diversity. As I was saying, they are pollinators, leaf eaters, eating cloth, just a few species, also eating our food. They are pests, decomposer. Well, there are so many species that they can specify in different strategies. For example, the goat moth is also eating wood, so they stay the larvae inside of the trees, eating the trunk, and then it takes several years until we come to the next phase to pupae, well, to do the cocoon, and is eating wood. So that is not the normal for Lepidoptera. They are also vital in the food chains of many other organisms as a caterpillar or as adults. And for sure, you know that birds and bats eat many moths. And especially with the bat, there is a nice evolutions of bats and moths that even the moths are adapting to the bat echolocation so they can be evasive or of the bat. So that is really incredible. And the lifespan is similar to the butterflies. Is depending on the species. Can be days as an adult or can be weeks or months. But the complete lifespan is similar to a year, but depending on the species. The moth diversity in Europe, this is, I'm taking this map from the red list of moths that is being prepared and be published this year. And well, here I can say you really incredible numbers because we have around 11,000 of moth species in Europe. In total, in the world is more than 160,000 species and still many to be discovered because the majority are micromoths. So we have around 3,000 large macromoths, but the majority, the more than 7,000 are micromoths, really, really tiny. I was checking for the families. There are many families, 92 different families of moths and 27 superfamilies. So it's pretty hard to learn all the species. Is complex, but well, for sure you remember or some of the families like Noctunidea or Gemiotridae or Sigaena. This is moths that you can see during the day flying, so they are pretty good. And well, about the map, similar a bit as the butterflies, you could see the high diversity on the mountain range, in the Alps, in the Pyrenees, on the Balkans. And this map is only done for 3,000 moth species, so that is pretty good. Basically, the macro moth species, but I have to say that I think we have a bias on the number of species. For example, these regions of Russia, I think is lack of data, and also in south of Europe, I'm sure there will be more species, but still we don't have the data and the experts to be able to assess these species. So for that, there are not included. But well, we are starting the first red list to be published for moths. So we are just waiting for that. So now I'm going to talk a bit about the differences between a butterfly and moth. Maybe you have it clear or maybe not, but just to give some tips that can be teach to the audience in protected areas or whatever you teach about butterflies or moths. We have even in our language a big differentiation between butterfly and moth and in other languages. So it's pretty clear how we divide these organisms. And many will say, well, moths are dual colors, are brown, gray, and always fly during the night, but that is not true. I wanted to show you here some incredible moth species with incredible color, red, yellow, or even green. This is one of the largest we have in Europe. So they are pretty colorful and beautiful. But of course, we have others that there are, yeah, brown, the small. So we have in 11,000 species, we have a great diversity. And to show you interesting fact is that we always divided butterflies and moths, but phylogenetically, so by genetics, there is not a clear evidence of separation between moth and butterflies. They are not in two branches of the tree, no? So the great majority are moths because, yeah, I say many thousand of species, the majority are moths, the great majority are micromoths, and only Macrolepidoptera, so the big specimens are only in this section, in this part, and just a tiny part, just these two branches are they butterflies. So imagine how big is the diversity of these animals. This is the whole order of Lepidoptera, by the way. And just butterfly are a tiny part that they are most common and we know more, but there is a really big part that we don't know much. So yeah, genetically we cannot divide butterflies and moths. So how we do it well, since a long time ago, we have been trying to divide them based on one characteristic that is pretty useful. The antennas of the butterflies are always this shape, are like club-shaped antenna, so it's elongated, and at the end they have like a maze, and they are always like that. The other type of all these type of antennas are for moths. So if there are like feathers or there are just a filamentum, is for a moth. They divided previously in Rhopalothera and Heterothera groups, but that is not correct actually because it's not based on genetics. So they don't use this type of names anymore. So here it is. So how is the antenna of a butterfly? No, it's elongated and with that maze, while the moths are completely really different. Another characteristic that for me is pretty useful is how the butterflies and moths are resting their wings. In general, because in biology there is always exceptions, the butterflies try to open the wings a lot. They try to show the four wings and also the abdomen, while the moth is doing this triangular shape, is trying to cover the abdomen. So it's normally to find the moths in that position, but of course there are butterflies doing that position and the other way around, but it's helpful. So how to identify butterflies? The first is to check the antenna, the type of flight. That is also useful. The butterflies are always looking for the sun, while the moths are normally trying to hide in the plants or threatened by us. It's important to check the upper side and the underside. Here I'm showing you the same species, but in different positions, and it's completely different. So it's important to check both sides. It's important also to know that males and females can be different, so they show dimorphism. Not all the species, but some families are doing it, like the orange chip. This is the orange chip. You could know why. The male is always showing this orange while the female not. Or in the Lysenite group, it's normally that the males are blue while the females not. They are more dual. They have a little bit of blue, but not much. And always I recommend to take pictures of the butterflies to later checking it with an expert or ask in different platform forums. There is a lot of people helping on that. And if it's necessary to catch them, but just to say that that requires permission. So it's not possible in all the countries to catch butterflies, any organisms without having a permission. And that's all for this first section. I think there are a few questions.
Thank you. There's already one question in the chat, but I quickly want to allow everyone to unmute themselves. Sure. So if anybody wants to ask a question, feel free to raise your hand, and then I can ask you to unmute yourself and you can ask the question. The first question in the chat is, are there maps showing the potential distribution, a baseline?
Potential distribution of baseline.
Not entirely
Pero,
sure if I understand that, but what you
pero
showed is the knowledge that we have, right?
that is the distribution of a species. So per 10 square meters, I think how many butterfly species or moth species are.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, is on the distribution of those species. So you need to know the distribution of those species to be able to make the maps. So
Yeah.
so for example, for moths, for that we have a lot of lack of data because many species we don't know the complete distribution. For butterflies, it's pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
We know for several years. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you need a baseline if you want to make some sort of a comparison. So the maps that are being made now that you've shown, they're obviously the latest knowledge we have, but is there good
Yeah.
historical records? Like, can you see anything moving due to climate change or?
That is true. So the map I show is the last knowledge we have. And it is true that there are swiftings on the range of the butterflies.
Hmm.
that we know for climate change. There are some experiments, well, some scientific papers and documents showing how the butterflies are moving north of Europe and also on the range on the mountains, no? So they are going
Hmm.
higher.
Hmm.
I think the moving is not incredible high that we can show a map of how it's changing, but in some cases it's happening. And for example, we know in other countries, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands are getting new species that are coming from the south.
Hmm.
So we are all the time changing the list of species per country because there are appearing new, or in UK, there are more colonization. So
Yeah.
it is true, it's changing. There are not huge changes, but it's happening. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
good to know because I like to collect secondhand identification books, and it sort of makes me wonder, if it was published in 1970, 1980, is it still, are the
Yeah.
maps still accurate?
Yeah, no, I think for
Yeah.
pair species it can be changed a little bit, especially the borders. So that is important to take into account. Yeah.
So there's a follow-up question. It says, considering the North, if they are disappearing, if like, are they moving because the vegetation is changing? Um, and where would they move to? I guess in the North vegetation would move, they would move together with the vegetation, right? Do you think those are going to be decoupled? Sorry, it's a tough
So
question.
no, it's a tough question, but I think the most is that they are moving based on the climate because the
Mhm.
butterflies and other organisms, they have a specific range of temperature. So there are some temperatures that they don't accept. So for example, mountain species, they cannot be above 17 degrees, for example. So they try to go higher on the mountains, or higher in the north of Europe. I think the vegetation cannot cope to that movement, so could be a mismatch on that.
Mhm.
And even now, with the climate change changing, no, so we are getting spring earlier, could be a mismatch on the flowering as well. So could be. So in birds, I know that that is proven with the production of seeds, or that there is a mismatch on some species. So I could guess that for butterflies as well. Yeah.
Similar. Yeah. Thank you. I have just two more simple questions. The one
Okay.
is, do moths migrate like the butterflies do? Some butterflies.
I would say with 11,000 species for sure.
Okay.
I cannot say
Yeah,
example. It's a good question to collect. I will ask my colleagues on mods, but
great.
for sure, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
At
I
least
can.
small migrations.
Mhm.
Many species do small migrations inside of the country. It's true that the one I
Okay.
saw, the painted lady, are
Yeah.
changing continent. No, that is
Yeah.
not common, but for sure inside of the same country, yes.
Yeah. And then my second question is, because it's been a while since I was at university, do we know a little bit more about how, when they have intergenerational migration, the adults move
Mhm.
down, lay eggs, and then the next generation moves back? Is
Yeah.
there any information on how we know that they have to move back? Like how that memory is kept?
So it's on their genes.
Okay.
So it's like the birds, they feel the necessity to move.
Hmm.
So they have the pattern and they are following the ultraviolet and also the magnetism
Okay.
field, no? So they orientate it and they know how to go. So they know that they cannot stay, they need to move. It's incredible. As a
Yeah.
part of biology, is one part incredible. The organism knows what to do. Okay, appear here in the middle of north of Morocco. I need to go
Hmm.
to the south. How they know is incredible. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, so I'll let you move on to the
Okay,
next section. Thank you.
great. Okay, so Lepidoptera monitoring. I'm going to talk more about methods and tools we use for the monitoring. Basically, we have three methods I'm going to show. Transect for butterflies and dayfly moths, that basically are fixed routes. Then we have 15-minute counts. for counting butterflies and dayfly moths as well. But the standardization is the time. We count during 15 minutes wherever we want. And moth traps, that basically is to attract large moth with a light. No, so I will explain the three different methodologies, and just to mention that two of them, the transit and the moth traps, are part of the methodology for the European Pollinator Monitoring Scheme. My colleagues yesterday they mentioned it, and transit and moth traps are going to be included and implemented in the different member states to monitor pollinators. So about transect, these are fixed routes to record butterflies for several years. They has been doing for many, many years. It was in the 17s when it was created by Ernie Pollard in this publication. Well, this is in the 90s, but he started in the 70s to define the rules on how to monitor butterflies. And in general are pretty simple. So how to count? We basically need to create this imaginary box of 5 by 5 meters above, in front, and in your sides. And while you are walking, all the butterflies that are crossing that imaginary box, you count them for the transit. So it's simple, I can say. It's really simple. I do it. When to count, we normally, this is the best for that I dedicated to butterflies because you need good weather conditions. You don't need to wake up really early or be in during the night. You just go when there is no rain, no heavy wind, an acceptable temperature, and preferably sunshine. And the visit, how many visits we do normally do on transit? We normally recommend every 2 weeks on 10 days to be able to get the flight periods of the butterflies. Because I mentioned before, some butterflies as an adult, they just fly a few weeks. So if you are missing 3 weeks, maybe you miss a species, no? So for that, the frequency, we want to do it quite frequent. And the flight period of the butterflies is the complete in the year. We normally count in Europe from March, April until September, October, more or less. You could find butterflies depending on the country. We collect the data as always has been doing with notebooks directly on the field, or we could do it with a smartphone. And I'm going to show you the butterfly count app because it's the one we we developed and promote. And basically, wherever you collect the data, it can be uploaded to the European Butterfly Monitoring Scheme website. So EBMS, I will mention several times. We have a whole website to collect all the data. In this website, we can generate the transit. Here I showed you a route, and then you can enter on all the visits that we do for our transit on butterflies. And you can see all your data, you can edit it and download it. So it's made for collecting a lot of data in Europe. We also have the app that you can directly register the butterflies, moths, dragonflies, and bumblebees. So basically, we have all these species list included on the app, and you can just record directly on the field. And you just need an EBMS account, no? So to create an account on this system, and you could register anywhere in Europe and even beyond. We are going to Japan, South Africa, or Ecuador, for example, using this app. It's completely free. It can be used for Android or iOS systems. You can use it offline. That is useful if you are in the middle of a mountain and you don't have internet. You can still do your transit with the app because it has your route and the GPS normally works. And it's available at the moment in 23 languages. We are including all the time news, and also is including the common names of a species if you use it in your country. Just to show you, put it on your how we divide the different methodologies. For basically, you need how much monitoring effort I do and how much experience I have. So I put in these two axes these variables. Well, the starting, we could do maybe, iNaturalist of observation, this type of platform that they are really great and every person can use it. These are called opportunistic data. You just record what you see in one place. You do not need much experience and no much monitoring effort. But if we go further on this graph, we have the transit. I was just presenting to you. You need to know a little bit more the species. You need a higher effort. As I told you, we do frequent visits, so you need to put more in place. And well, I wanted to include to present you a new methodology that is a 15-minute count. So that will be kind of between both sides, no, between the opportunistic data and the transit. So you need a little bit more of monitoring effort, but not so much like a transit. And at the end of this graph, it will be really scientific method like mark release recapture that requires a lot of effort. Marking butterfly, release it, and capture it again. It takes a lot of time. Okay, so now I introduce you the different methodologies, EBMS, the European Butterfly Monitoring Scheme. We focus in these main two. So the 15-minute counts is a methodology that we created a few years ago because, yeah, it's more flexible and help us to register butterflies and moths in areas more accessible than for transits. No, so the standardization is based on time, and you could see, for example, that in these 15 minutes. I count all these butterflies, no? So it's recording the exact coordinate of every individual with the application and is pretty useful. How to count is the same for the transect. So you need to imagine again this imaginary box counting of the butterflies with good weather condition and the visit when at any time during the flight period. So in comparison to the transit, the 15-minute count, if you can visit it the same place with 15-minute count several times, the best, because that will give us more robust data. But if you just do one in your holidays in Madeira, it's also fine. So that is also providing a lot of important data. So yeah, I wanted to show you how popular is becoming this methodology in Europe. So this is from the last year. We started in 2018, and well, this map is until 2024. And you could see how popular it's getting in many countries, especially Netherlands, Hungary, or Spain, also in UK. We are using more and more this method, and it's because it's flexible, you could do it everywhere and it's pretty nice for remote areas or arable lands, urban areas where you normally don't do a transect, no? Where you record less frequent. Okay, and now with the last methodology, the moth traps. This is the one that is defined for the European methodology scheme. And these are no lethal traps. So the moths are attracting, they enter inside of this cube. They enter, are attracted because of the light, and they stay inside on these egg boxes. So they stay there during the whole night. We leave the trap there. It has a battery, so you don't even need to be there. So you just leave the trap with the battery, and then it will attract the moths. And during the morning, you just go open, taking picture, and release the moth. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. We are with this methodology collecting abundances and species. That is also something really important because normally the moth people or traditionally has been putting the black white seed, no, attracting with a light, but that is only recording the species. We need to know the abundances to be able to do the trends and to know how those species are. It's important that the trap and the light is always the same in the same place, because if not, cannot be compared between one night and another. And as the butterflies, good weather conditions are important. So, principle that there is no rain and no much wind. But apart from that, the moths can be handling low temperature better than butterflies. No, they are fluffy bodies, so they can be around 10 degrees or 20 degrees. They can be flying. And how many visits should be done? The methodology for Europe, they are saying one visit per month because we are putting a light in the middle of nature, so that is really disturbing them. So we wouldn't recommend to put it lot of frequent. We have in tools, our website is available for registering moth traps and also the visit. And it's not necessary to use this trap I just showed you. You can see the list of different light types. There are so many for moths, and also the type of trap can be also different and can be included. So, for example, here funnel trap or two seeds, so you can mention it. And you can include the species with the pictures and everything. One cool thing of our app, Butterfly Count app, is that we included an automatic image recognition for the moths. So this is helping us based on a big algorithm based on Observado on observation.org, identifying the pictures of the moths that we are providing. No? So here you can see in the app is identifying and including a picture, and is identifying, and in a moment it will bring a species name here and counting as one abundance. You just need to click, take a picture, and then it will do the identification automatically. This is working very, very well for Northwestern Europe because it's based the the majority of the pictures are coming from that region of Europe, but it's improving more and more. So we are including more and more pictures from Southern Western Europe, especially, and the algorithm is improving quite a lot. These allow us to monitor moth with citizens because, as I told you, 11,000 species, 92 families, who is going to enter just for fun to learn all the species is pretty difficult. But if you have a technology like that can help you to identify directly the species is much, much easier. So we are improving the AI, so the automatic image recognition is improving every time we are including more and more pictures. And those pictures has to be validated later by a coordinator and expert. So it's not only accepting everything that the AI is telling us, we need also a verification system behind. So that's all about monitoring techniques and tools. I saw there are some questions.
Yeah, we got a question in the chat. The first one is, does the light trap attract moth predators as they sit there,
Mm.
in the eggshells? Is it possible something can get in and then eat them all? What eats
It
moths?
happens, yeah, it happens. A hornet or
Mm.
a beetle could enter, or even ants. They told me that the ants are starting to scroll in and get it inside. It's a problem, but I think it's not a big issue. It's not the most common thing. So if you have a night that you have a hornet, it's a pity. But for example, I didn't have such experience before, so it can happen, but it's not frequent.
Okay. And then I also have a question that I see someone else posted in the chat about there being so many more apps to choose from and some even local. So in that app, they mentioned one in Denmark called Arter.dk, where scientists also verify the species. What is it like for the butterfly count app? Do you have experts verifying the species? Can people check later?
Yeah, yeah. As I was saying now with the moths, especially for the moth, because we have the pictures and we are based on automatic recognition, we have people behind checking those pictures and validating it. No, what the AI mentioned is the species, and that is really true. Is improving, but of course we always need to have experts behind. For butterflies, we are also doing a validation, automatic validation based on the distribution of a species and also on the flight period. So if that species should appear in August or not.
Mhm.
But we have also experts behind validating all the records from citizens. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Um, I have a question. Have you found that you often need permission for a moth trap? Because you'd mentioned catching butterflies, you almost always need permission for a moth trap. since you're not directly handling it most of the time, or you can get away with not actually touching them, you would still need a permission though.
I will say in general, yes.
Okay.
Is of course depending on the country a lot.
Yeah.
Every country and region has its own rules and can be really strict, or the permission can be pretty simple to get.
Hmm.
So, but I would recommend in general, yes, and especially in protected areas, or now we are talking mainly to rangers. If
Hmm.
the park or the protected areas can provide that permission, would be great, especially because you are in a way handling that species and you are going to disturb them
Yeah.
in such a way. But we are just starting with moth monitoring, I have to say. So we are starting dealing with these type of things. But in general, I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay. I think for protected areas, the staff running those exercises, they would know who to ask. But I think as a
Exactly. Yeah.
citizen, if you just want to do it, I don't know, in your garden or in a public space, because yeah.
Even if it's your garden, for example, in my country, in
Yeah.
Spain, they are pretty
Oh,
strict on that. Even if it's your garden, you should have permission because you are disturbing the nature that is for from
okay.
everyone, no? So
Okay. Yeah.
it's not because
Yeah.
it's your area you can do whatever you want to nature.
Uh,
But it is true that if you are citizens and you don't know how to ask, we are also helping on that. We have coordinators that are helping us to get the permissions for monitoring transects or traps. So basically, we have all network of coordinators that know where to ask the
mhm.
permissions. In some cases, you need to ask those permissions annually, but well, at
Okay.
least they keep a key of control who is entering on nature and doing these practices. Yeah.
Mhm. That's good to know. And then I know that you mentioned transects, you recommended, I think, every 10 days. But what time of the year would you recommend?
For butterflies, you mean?
Yeah.
For transect. It's almost to start now. For example, for me, my transit I will start now in March and until September, and we will do every 2 weeks more or less, if there is good weather, just to start. But the best to see butterflies, so the peak of flying is in May, June, and in higher mountains in July, I would say, because it's higher mountains, they take a little bit no farther. So July is the best for mountains. And
That's
moths,
really
it
useful.
has, and for the moths, I don't know much more specific like butterflies, but they have the flight period larger. So you could see moth until November, or even now in February, you could start seeing moths
Hmm.
perfectly. And I think they have two peaks, but I'm not completely sure. So for sure, one in spring and another in autumn, maybe September, October, they will have another peak. Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else want to raise their hand and ask a question? We have some time. In the meantime, Christina, some very personal advice. I have gone chasing butterflies with my phone camera, and sometimes they don't sit on something so I can take a picture. Do you have any experience or that you can recommend if that's the case?
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Sometimes they are yeah pretty crazy, and the whites they continue
Hmm.
flying and they don't stop, and
Hmm.
it's crazy. First, I will say to start learning a little bit. Later, when I'm going to show the resources, just to know which butterfly family is, which type of genus, you could really precise. Okay, is this a species or that one? So maybe I'm doubting between two. So
Okay.
with more knowledge, you will doubt less.
Yeah.
And for these crazy ones, you need to learn, you need to catch them. It's difficult. Or I normally, what do yeah, well, I have many strategies. I use my binoculars, my normal bird binoculars. I use it for butterflies. Because if they sit far away, I use my binos and then I can see them from far away before getting closer. Or take a
Oh,
picture super far away also and then you
yeah.
zoom in. And maybe
Yeah.
you see a dot or a color and already that could tell you a lot. Even the picture is not perfect, it could tell you quite a lot
Yeah.
on the species.
Hadn't necessarily thought of using binoculars for butterflies, but good point.
There are even binoculars defined, no, produced for butterflies that there are in a short distances. So there are,
Oh,
there are.
okay.
Hmm.
That's cool to know.
That's good to know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you carry on. It seems like nobody else has any questions at this point.
Great. Okay, so now I will continue. How is currently the monitoring in Europe for butterflies and moths? So as I mentioned, butterflies monitoring starting a long time ago. The UK butterfly monitoring scheme, here the logo, starting 50 years ago, recording butterflies. Ernie Pollard, this guy, was the one who created the rules of monitoring butterflies with a transect. And they set up the first butterfly monitoring scheme, BMS. I will mention that word all the time, in the 1976 in United Kingdom. And all these rules are starting to apply it in the country and spread it around and creating many transit in that country. But that is starting to be exported to many other countries. So this system of monitoring butterflies based on citizen science and supervised by experts, it was quite popular, starting to grow a lot in Europe and adopting the same methodology. So you could see that in the 70s, okay, only UK was recording, but suddenly in the 90s, starting Netherlands, many other countries starting to create their own schemes and creating more and more transit. Well, here you could see. At the moment, we have all the member states with a butterfly monitoring scheme running in different levels, for sure. Netherlands or UK have more than 1,000 or 2,000 transit. Other countries have many more or less. But doesn't matter because they are recording in the same methodology and it's really great because we could compare between countries and between different regions. So that is really precious data. Because every country was creating their own schemes of monitoring butterflies, in 2014, Butterfly Conservation Europe and the Centre for Ecology and Hydrology of UK creating the European Butterfly Monitoring Scheme, the EBMS. And basically, it's a central database where all the data from the different countries are stored together, and that allows us to calculate and analyze the data together. This network is pretty high. We have thousands of volunteers that are recording frequently data in these points that you could see here. In Europe, with more orange colors, are more number of transits, but you could see that it's pretty spread around the continent. With this, we already recorded 368 butterfly species. I told you before that we have 500, so we are getting there, pretty good data on these butterflies and spreading the network more. It's true that Eastern countries are missing a bit more, but we are getting there. For the 15-minute counts, we are starting recently in 2018, but this has been really, really popular. And now with the use of technology is more common, everyone with their smartphone having apps for nature. We are improving every year and getting more and more recorders. And well, you could see how the map also is filled up. I showed you before Netherlands or Hungary, they are really crazy. Or the Iberian Peninsula, or even in Ireland, no? You can see Cyprus, Crete, or Madeira. In Madeira, we did a lot of records, so we can immediately fill an island with 15-minute counts, and it's really, really funny. I mentioned it before, for the 15-minute counts, you need to know the butterfly species a little bit more, no? Because if you go and you arrive to a new place and you don't know the species at all, can be really overwhelming. While you are in a transect, the good thing of a transect, if it's always in the same place, it's close to your house or your work, you learn the species of your place. So that is easy. And then now you started in March. Okay, now I start to see the white, the yellow, and along the year, more species are appearing, so the training process is easier than a 15-minute count. Suddenly, I go to holidays and recording butterflies. So just to keep in mind that. And for moth monitoring, we are starting, so we are not so far compared to butterflies. I have to say that UK has been monitoring moth for many, many years. and they have a pretty good network. But this is what I'm showing you what we have in the EBMS database for moth traps. And for we are starting with the spring project. Sarah yesterday mentioned it. It was a project to try methodology for pollinator. We started with the traps, and you could see like Netherlands or Hungary, Sweden, they were testing this methodology, but many other countries are joining. Look, Portugal, they are going incredibly with the moth traps, or Lithuania. So it's getting popular and more spread around the continent, but much less compared to butterflies. Any questions here? This was short.
It was interesting. There is one question. It says, how does the EBMS account for potential misidentification by citizen scientists?
So we have the validation, as I mentioned before, and we are refining the tools. So if you select it, I'm going to record in France, it's going to only allow you the species that we know that there are for France. So it's not going to allow you other species that there are occurring everywhere.
Hmm.
And we are trying to incorporate, especially on the app, like eBird. Maybe some of you know that if you enter about a species, it put like a color traffic light, no? Like if it's green, it's okay. It is yellow, we have a bit of doubt, and if it's red, you really need to confirm with a picture or something because
Okay.
it's pretty red. So
Yeah.
we would like to incorporate something like that, but we are still in process. For that, of course, I have to be honest, we have also mistakes, and we are working with citizens. But because we have a really big numbers at the end, those small mistakes are diluted with the high numbers that we are getting. So we
Hmm.
have around 2-5% depending on the country, but because people are learning in their own trends and in their own routes, they learned with the process the different species. So the mistakes
Hmm.
are pretty reduced.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think I'd be pretty nervous to make a mistake.
We
Yeah.
have the options to be in training mode. I didn't
Mm.
mention that, but we
Okay.
have the option on the app and on the website that you are in training mode. So your data is not considered real and you are just testing so you could be in that training mode. And sometimes we recommend it, okay, this year stay in training mode, and next year when you feel more confident, we consider your data correct. So that
Yeah.
is also a possibility.
That's actually really useful, and I think especially useful for the Junior Ranger program when they're still teaching
Yeah.
them. Yeah. I think I just had one last comment about the number of species. Um, when I was making the Mentimeter at the beginning, I considered asking a quiz question of how many species there are, and because I hadn't seen your slides yet, I went to Wikipedia and there's a list of butterflies, and the number there is 473. So someone needs to go and update Wikipedia. And
Yeah,
you'll notice
this
if you see
update
that number that
is
someone got
from
it from Wikipedia.
the last red list, so I'm completely
Ah,
sure that that is the
okay.
last one, the 500 one. So I'm completely sure. Also because they are creating new, they are splitting the species with the taxonomy and so on. So
Yeah.
yeah, we have to update it on Wikipedia.
Definitely. But yeah, okay. That's all from my side.
Okay, so then this is almost the last part, the action and resources, and then a last part about talking what is butterfly conservation in Europe. So we are getting there. Resources and support, we are here, yeah, to help you, and we are working with our coordinators and volunteers in many different projects to giving this support, no? So to making workshop, training seminars, produce material, supporting the network, because also is about people, no? So we need to have these contact persons and bring the community in a higher level, and of course disseminate of our knowledge and feedback and why we use this data. It doesn't make sense that I ask you for a lot of data and later I don't report it, why, how we use this data. So all of these we are trying to do a capacity building with all our possibilities, and support the butterfly and moth monitoring schemes. We have in the website, I put you here the links later on the chat. I could put you all these links. We have several manuals on how to do the transit, how to do the different monitoring method, to include data inside the EVMS, how to set up the trap. It could be pretty easy, but okay, there is some things to take into account, how the light should be correct or the sensor or anything. So we have also manuals for that and can be downloaded by PDF and pretty simple. This is really interesting for sure. We produce tailored field guides. So we, by nations of different regions. So you could see here a few that I myself created together with coordinators and experts. We produce a small leaflet of what are the most common species for a country like Lithuania or Malta. And then that is helping to the volunteers on how to identify butterfly. Here is pretty small, but well, we include the butterfly species and we put arrows, circles, and even tests showing you where you need to look for this dot or this color to identify the butterfly. All these PDF are available online and you can download it and print it. So these are produced with European projects, so are free and access to everyone, and you can print it for yourself and bring it to the field. So are pretty useful. Of course, there are books, so the field guides cannot substitute books. And here I'm presenting you two that there are kind of the most important for butterflies, and they are quite useful. But also here we have one that is a PDF also available online for most difficult species, and you can download it. Later I put the link on the chat. There are many websites about butterflies. It's one of the most common insects in the world, no? That is pretty popular. So there are thousands of websites where you could collect information, but just to show you here a few. Leps IT for Italy, for example, but it has all the European species. Lepiforum is really famous in Germany. You've said distribution map, they have the distribution of all the butterfly species and is pretty nice. We also have the European Butterfly Group. These are from Butterfly Conservation UK, like a branch focused on European butterfly species, and they produce incredible guides about a specific genus and group of butterflies. And these are also PDFs that you can download, and they are pretty good. Of course, we are in the era of the technology, so social media. There are many things on Facebook and for sure in Instagram and many other media, but I'm used to use Facebook for the organization of volunteers where they can ask the identification of a species and pictures and so on. There are local and national groups and pages. We also have our YouTube channel from Butterfly Conservation Europe where we explain how to use the app. So I'm showing you now a video done by myself of how to really start in a 15-minute count. Now we are including even identification of a species. So just have a look. We have a lot of material there. Epic Butterfly. Yesterday, my colleague, they were talking a lot about this. We are also part of that. We are doing Epic Butterfly. I have to say, sorry that we don't have Epic Moth. It's really a pity, but okay, we are just producing materials for butterflies. I hope one day Epic Moth will appear. But in the Pollinator Academy website, you could find a lot of courses. We are producing a lot of online materials for different levels. So we divide it also in 5 levels on butterfly knowledge. And you could see different courses that we are producing, like for example, butterfly anatomy or butterfly biology. Several things I was promoting here today. You can find them there in different courses that you can do online. And even here I showed you that there are even in different languages, no? So we are trying to make it more accessible. We also have master classes now that these are for more advanced people on butterflies or really difficult species. We are now doing some of them and put it on YouTube, so it's available for everyone. But in this page of Pollinator Academy, you will find everything. I think yesterday they were asking about the courses of epic bees and hoverfly. I have to say that for us, butterfly conservation, butterfly epic is focused on eastern countries. So the courses on in the field are more focused in this region of Europe, or because they have a lack of taxonomy in that country. So for that we are doing the courses there, but the materials is available for everyone. So that is accessible. And actions, what you can do as a ranger with young people, how to get involved. Well, in many different ways. You can, of course, take a part of the monitoring. So we have many rangers and protected areas that there are part of the schemes, and even inside of their own work time, they are doing a transit of a butterfly or a trap. So that is always welcome, but also to be volunteering your free time. Everyone is allowed here. But of course, teaching about butterflies and moths, what I has been doing now to you, you could do it for young people or inside the classroom. No, I work a lot with teachers in a school or high school where they incorporate butterflies and moths inside of the lecture, because there are many things that you can teach about the life cycle, biology, the different habitats. Or so here I'm showing you, for example, a school where they mark the different species that they see in the different months of the year. So that is a pretty cool things involving young people and going outside and look to the nature with a different eyes, because when you look to butterflies, you look in a different way when you are looking for birds. So that is something also to change, to look little things. And well, you could involve them, because as more we teach them, more we take care of them. So if you don't know how is a grasshopper or how is a spider, you will be always scared and not wanting to touch it. But if you know more about those animals and how much beneficial are for nature, you get more approach, no? You get closer to them. And in general, to disseminate. So it's always welcome to this kind of activities that we do, the workshops and everything. Any dissemination that can be done is always nice. I didn't include it more, but of course you are more than welcome to contact me if you want to go further on this. I could help you on doing more actions. And if you don't mind, I continue, because that is the last part, the Butterfly Conservation Europe,
Yeah,
just
go
to
ahead.
told you I work for this organization. And my office is basically Dutch butterfly conservation, but working for the European organization that it was created in 2005. So we have a lot of years of experience, and is basically an umbrella organization involving other Lepidoptera associations for many different countries. Partners, museums, or many other experts on Lepidoptera are our partners. We are in many different countries, and basically our aims is to conserve butterflies and moths and their habitat and try to reverse their decline, because many of them are declining. One of our main focus is the monitoring, because we are collecting really robust data that we can analyze and prove what is happening and indicate how is the health of ecosystem. And we are supporting many schemes in Europe, and we are trying to support them and to improve, so to go further and get more data. But also we are in a really big part also policy advisors. So we are a lot in contact with the European Commission. We are experts on the nature restoration regulation. We were quite involved on that, because there is one of the articles where is including grassland butterfly indicator. I think it's Article 11 and Article 10 for pollinators. So we are there, and finally in this incredible law, butterflies are considered one of the indicators together with birds, and the only indicators of organisms. So we are pretty proud of that. And well, we are supporting in the European biodiversity strategy and many other European policy. We are also trying to get more European projects with EPIC providing training, and before with the Spring and many other local projects. So yeah, we are doing a little bit of work on butterflies. And that was all. So I hope you enjoyed this session on butterfly and moth and learn now how to differentiate them with the antenna and with position. Remember that? The Lepidoptera monitoring, the three method that I showed you, our website and our app that is available for everyone. How is the current monitoring in Europe for Lepidoptera? And well, some actions and resources that I will share now on the chat. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much for yeah, spending this time with us and sharing your knowledge. It's been really, really interesting. And we do have one question in the chat for you about Butterfly
Yeah.
Conservation Europe, and it's about how are you funded? They mentioned Butterfly Conservation UK and the Dutch Butterfly Conservation and donations, and you also mentioned trying to get more projects. Yeah, but you're doing such great work, and I know working for a European network at the European level, it's not always so easy to find funding, especially as you do. You work across the EU and outside of the EU as well, with Switzerland and the UK and Norway, and other countries. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a pretty good question because indeed the lack of funding is one of our bottlenecks, no, to do more things. So our main supporters are Dutch Butterfly Conservation and UK. So they created Butterfly Conservation Europe. And thanks to donations, we have butterfly tours that are supporting us and many
Okay.
other nice people making donations to Butterfly Conservation Europe, but the majority of the money is coming from projects. So these European projects are helping us to focus our work in the member state, but also beyond. So everything that we are doing can be used in the whole continent. So yeah, that is our main resources, funding resources. But we are always welcome for more donations and
Hmm.
even tips where we could find because, as you say, is being Europe. At a continental level, it's difficult to find fundings, no? So normally
Hmm.
you get it nationally or locally, so it's complex indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe some inspiration out there for those of you who do direct youth work with junior ranger groups. We have some junior ranger groups that do their own fundraising by giving tours run by junior rangers. So if
Yeah.
that's something, if your group is really passionate about butterflies and you've done some surveys and transects and you think that they have the skills and the knowledge to give their own tours, then perhaps you can assist Butterfly Conservation Europe as well by doing one for donations and sending them that way as well. So, it's not
Yeah.
just getting information from you and giving it to the junior rangers, but also giving the junior rangers the space to contribute towards European conservation. Yeah, and building their own skills and confidence in the process.
I start putting the links on the chat,
Oh,
although
that's great.
you will share the PDF, but
Yeah,
anyway, it would be
yeah.
great.
So, just to remind everyone that in a week and a half, you will get an email with me with the recordings. You'll be getting most of the slides. There are some maps that have not yet been officially published yet, so some of those might be missing from the PDFs of the slides that you'll be receiving, but they will still be in the recording. Um, yeah, and then you've got the links in the chat as well.
This is yeah, I'm putting more and more.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting for those of you who attended yesterday and today. In terms of butterfly conservation, there's a lot more action happening where citizens are getting involved or can get involved.
Yeah,
And for me, I mean, I'm not the youngest spring chicken, but I also haven't been around that much. And it's really cool to see that, already in the 80s, there were citizens mobilizing on butterfly conservation, and that long-term interest of citizens has led to an initiative like Butterfly Conservation Europe, where with hoverflies and wild bees, even though I feel like it's been well known during my time as a student and a young yeah, nature conservationists, it hasn't been as popular as a topic, and that has also resulted in less knowledge and less action and less opportunity for citizen scientists to get involved. So they had a little bit less opportunity to share with us, and I guess instead of going away disappointed, I hope that that also inspires more people to consider, well, if there isn't something now, let's start something or let's build on the momentum that's going so that in, 5, 10 years, we have young people that are really interested in that and will build up these groups on identification, on monitoring schemes, and doing their work on hoverflies and wild bees as well. So,
Yeah, so it's pretty good the pollinator initiative from the EU that is putting the focus on these species, those groups that there are no well done and that can be involved citizens. So yeah, it's pretty nice. It's true that butterflies conservation has a long history compared to other invertebrates.
mhm.
But as I mentioned before, if we don't know it, we cannot preserve them. So the first
Yeah,
thing is to know about them, and then we could conserve and preserve them. So yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and all your comments I saw. I hope the links are useful.
I'm sure they will
Uh,
be. I'll be
and
sending those as
as
well.
and as I mentioned before, if you have any doubts or you want to get further on a specific training to do with your young people, I would be happy to answer anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that Christina and I had also talked about in preparation is that there are national coordinators and national experts. So if you are struggling
Yeah.
to get someone to speak to your junior rangers or speak to your school classes or give presentations, do reach out to Butterfly Conservation Europe and get the contact to your national expert. Yeah, because there really are people that are interested in sharing their knowledge, like all the speakers that we've had in this series, and who've all been really kind in giving their time in coming to present to the Europark network and beyond. So, lastly, I'd like to say thank you very much for all of you taking your time to be here. There is a link in the chat where I'd like to get some feedback from this session in particular. I know many of you have already filled it out on the last 2 days, but it's always the same questions, but it's been a different speaker every time. So we'd like to hear your
Yeah.
thoughts. And yeah, there's a Microsoft form for you to fill out to give some feedback. It shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. And with that, I'd like to close this webinar and the webinar series and say a very big thank you to our speakers and a really big thank you to everybody who attended. It was great to see your engagement, and we had really high number of registrations. And I can also see that the people who came stayed for the whole 1.5 hours as well, which is always shows that it
Really
is really
great.
an interesting topic. So we're really happy to serve the community in that way. And then I wish everybody a lovely evening, afternoon, and a weekend ahead.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.